All right. And we are live. So, welcome to CRM Success Secrets. My name is Mary Sue Dayhill, founder of Work Smarter Digital, and I am a hot mess and automation CRM expert. And my guest this week is Meredith Eaton of Eaton Press. She's a guide on your self-publishing journey, and I worked with her when I published my first book, The Boutique Effect.
I love that you're referring to that as your first book.
I know. I thought you'd pick that up. Because I'm a business owner author, I support what Meredith does because I have found the book to be super helpful in my business. Even if I haven't, sold millions of them, it was helpful in many ways. And I'm always learning how to be more successful with launching and utilizing my own book. So, Meredith, you want to give a little intro to yourself?
Sure. So, Eaton Press is a self publishing services provider, which means, as you said, that we are your guide for the process of self publishing a nonfiction book. We work with pretty much entirely business owners who, like you, want to write a book as a way to grow their business or level them up in some way. So, we provide writing coaching, which helps you actually write the book. And then all the production services. So layout, cover design, turning into an ebook, all of the stuff that you need. Editing. Yes, of course. I can't forget that. It's like the most important. So all of that, basically everything that you could need all you need is the idea, really, and some years in business. And that's it. And we can get you the rest of the way across the finish line with your book.
Yeah, awesome. And I know exactly it works well. So our topic today is really, strategies to make your book a success. And we're not necessarily talking about, what your book topic is or how you write the book, because you can finish writing it and publish it and then not really have any success, quote unquote. So I guess what makes a book successful?
Well, it does start with making sure you have a high quality product, of course, that you do want to make sure the book looks professional and is an accurate reflection of your brand, which is why I think it's important to have professional help to do that. So that's the first layer. But like you said, you could do all that and then the book can just sit and you never do anything with it. So I think that the first part of the success of your book is a little bit of a mindset thing, which is to say that you have to be committed to using that book. I often refer to it as leveraging your book because the word marketing is really scary for a lot of people. And the book marketing and author marketing, and I don't know what that means. So instead, I often refer to it as leveraging. You've created a tool. This book is a tool for your business. So we need to leverage it to achieve the goals that you had for the book. That can feel a little less intimidating, but you have to just be prepared. It's not going to leverage itself. So you have to be ready to commit. So that I would say that's sort of the foundational element of it.
Yeah. And that really doesn't matter what your publishing platform is.
Nope.
Yeah. So then what are kind of the three strategies that help you make your book a success, no matter what your goal really is?
So the first is you have to build your audience. So I'll just do the three. We'll go back and break them down. So build your audience, have a launch strategy, and then sort of keep it going. Have some evergreen efforts and plans, content. So and the building your audience is in some ways the most flexible. You can start that before you even start your book. You can start that even if you don't know if you want to write a book yet, if it's just like a vague idea that you're contemplating, because you can't have too big of an audience.
Nope.
It will never be a wasted effort, because even if you don't end up writing your book or publishing your book or whatever it is, you're still running a business. And so if you are building your audience for your book, you're building them for your business as well. So it is probably one of the most effective uses of time related to marketing efforts is building your audience, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and as a business owner, I mean, your book theoretically is very closely aligned to your business. So, growing your audience for your business is the same as growing your audience for your book, and vice versa.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yes. And here, I'm going to put my question up here. What do you suggest authors do to grow their business while they're writing?
well, everybody loves behind the scenes. So it's a little bit of like a secret, like an unspoken secret in my industry, which is that everyone thinks if you write a book that it's very impressive. It's like amazing. It opens a lot of doors for you. And it is not based so much on the content of the book as the existence of the book, if that makes sense, right? The content of the book matters later. But in terms of the initial, oh, you're an author, like, whoa, that feels like a huge undertaking. And the reality is for nonfiction books, it's not that big of an undertaking, which is what I do. I have this process where I make it really, literally anybody can do it. But it doesn't ever stop feeling magical to the people who aren't doing it. So
Yeah.
any behind the scenes stuff, people eat it up. So it could be doing accountability with your audience of like, I'm going to publish my word count every week, or I'm going to, that kind of thing, depending on what kind of audience you have, what kind of relationship, what platforms you're using, social media. It can be simply just asking for input. If you really want to engage your audience, you could just be like, hey, I can't decide this subtitle or that subtitle, although be careful. Just use that as a ploy. Don't actually take a poll because you will get 1,000 different answers from people who really don't have any like expertise to weigh in. But it's a fun way to engage people, or only give them options that you are already okay with. You can post little previews. You can share little snippets, especially with an email list. You could send out little tiny previews. Maybe like if you're doing any kind of graphics. I have a client right now who's doing really fun graphics that if you saw them on their own, you wouldn't immediately get what they have to do with the book. And then
Right.
get together, it's awesome. But so like he could send out, just be like, what do you think this graphic is referring to in this book that's about this, that kind of stuff. And also sharing the struggles, if you're that kind of person who can be sort of vulnerable with your audience, share the struggle, share those moments of frustration, because they always happen. There's always a moment every single creative journey or writing journey where you're just like, oh, why did I think I should do this? Everything I've written is already been done. I'm not saying anything new, whatever it is. It happens to every single person. It's a universal thing. But share that kind of stuff. Just anything that's like behind the scenes, sharing the process, letting people in, giving it a little bit to that like hero narrative that people love.
Well, and when you're doing all those things, you have to have some sort of an opt-in. That's the part about growing your list. Like there's a different thing about being on social media and sharing your experience. That's great. But we're talking about having people actually opt in from that. So this is where having like a waiting list kind of concept, here I'm sharing my struggles. Would you join my waiting list and cheer me on? Something like that, so that you can start building that list of people that are interested in your topic and into your book. So
yes, that's why you are the marketing person.
Well, since I am, for those of you that pay attention, I am considering writing a second book. And one of the things that I'm thinking of doing this time, I don't know if it's necessarily a pre-order, but at some point doing something like that, because that is also building your mailing list with people that are very intentional about interest in your book. So I'm just curious, when should people use that kind of model?
I wouldn't start doing like pre-orders or making any promises about the date the book will be available until you're at least 3 months out from finishing production. So you've finished writing, you have finished copy editing, you've entered what we call production, which is the covers getting designed, the layouts being finalized, because a lot can happen prior to that will throw your timeline off. So I say, give it at least 3 months before you start making hard date promises. And even then, you might want to say like coming in mid-July until you get even closer and then nail down the exact date. But I think that is a great idea to do that. You also, some people because if you're going to, there's logistics involved in everything, which is always where my mind goes. So if you want to do pre-orders with self-publishing, there's a couple different ways to do it, but usually at some level does fall on you to ship out the books yourself, which not everyone wants to do. So another option I've seen a lot of people do with success is you say, if you go buy the book, show me the receipt, then you get X. You get a private coaching session with me. You get invited to this webinar I'm going to do you can come to the launch party, like whatever it is. And depending on your business, it'll be a different thing. But I think that in some ways is the most expedient way to do it. And it's not even about, you can even make the book, at the lowest price possible. It's not about like necessarily selling the books. It's just easier than having to ship out a bunch of books.
Right.
So, but I mean, I love that strategy also, just in general, like if you are going to do any launch activities, which is getting into our next point, but sort of tying in those launch activities as an opt-in, like only people on the mailing list will get to do whatever, and tie it into your expertise, which is what you're featuring in the book, or whatever or if you're launching something. Some people write a book to launch, like a course or some pivot in their business. So have this activity, this special invite thing, be what the book is about. So it ties in.
I gotcha. Yeah. So we talked about pre-order. We talked about creating some exclusive content by being on the mailing list. And then, the third, I guess, is just cheer me on with your.
Yeah, because some of it is, if you're leaning towards the book sales or for whatever comes after the book or with the book, having people not just know about it, but care about it. To be looking forward to it, to be waiting and be like, oh, I've heard so much about this book. I can't wait to buy it and read it.
I know. Anticipation is undervalued in marketing.
It is. Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a difference between the whole, like, I have a surprise, tune in next week and see what the surprise is. That gets a little played. But like being very clear, like, I have this book, I'm working really hard. Here's my struggle. Here's my joy. Here's my this for a couple of months. Then just being like, here it is. Here's the book. Like, that still builds anticipation without the sort of gamification of the, you'll never guess what this big surprise is going to be.
Yes. So that's stage 1, growing your list. Stage 2 is the launch.
So this is a really great opportunity. So one of the biggest struggles with marketing a book, and especially after the book is launched, is what do you do? How do you do it? What do you talk about? Like, what's the opportunity to talk about? And so a launch is just, it gives you a lot of excuse to just talk about this book all the time. And have events. If you schedule some events around a launch, virtual or otherwise, I only do virtual because I don't like to leave my house, but some people, I understand, go places. But scheduling events gives you 2 things to talk about, right? So you're promoting the event, which, by the way, is about your book and whatever else the event is about. And I recommend like having it be something, a webinar, a panel, not just like a party. You could do that with your close friends, but like for marketing purposes. So you're promoting the event. Then you can also just be directly promoting the book just on its own. So you get 2 ways to talk about it at a minimum. So you're sending stuff out on your list. You're building your followers on your platform, that on your different, social media platforms, like whatever it is. So that when the book comes out, it's everywhere all the time. People get it because you're leading to something. So of course you're going to be talking about it all the time. You can also, some people use a strategy of sort of getting their friends and colleagues to be like a marketing team for them. And they coordinate, on this launch day, everyone's going to post about the book and we're all going to do a thing. And that can be really successful as well. I've seen it be wildly successful, and I've seen it be just sort of like mediocrely successful. Anything is better than nothing, right? Every effort yields something. So it just depends on how much work you want to do, because having that marketing team does require a lot of work on the part of the author to coordinate and plan and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. To me, I always looked at it as a launch tour and not a launch date.
Yes, that's great.
So with the first book I had, like a highlights session. I had my behind the scenes of writing a book session. I did that with Meredith, and then I had a highlights, this is what kind of going through the book content. And they were at different times, because promoting your book is putting yourself out there, and is always good for your business as well as the book. So if you're involved in different groups, you could be promoting it at the upcoming happy hour for, the group 1 that you're in and the group 2, and it's a way for them to also support you as a member of that group. So think about ways to kind of launch your book by helping it stay top of mind for people listening to what you have to
Yeah,
say.
I would plan to have the launch tour, which I love conceptualizing it that way, be at least a month. It's not a day, it's a
Mm,
minimum a month. And then still plan stuff is any opportunity you have. But the sort of intense, really focused, like your core people aren't going to be able to turn around and not see something about your book. That's like the first month or so. And then it's sort of, you can pace yourself a little bit more after that, because you couldn't keep up that kind of intensity. But other options are leaning on your referral networks, leaning on your business besties, whatever it is, your network, to, if someone has an email list that they could send it out to. You could maybe write a
yes.
blog for a friend when it's aligned, or a colleague, where if you have businesses that align, you're kind of going after the same audience, or somehow makes sense. You could set up, if you have that sort of network where a lot of people have these platforms, do a blog tour. Plan to write a blog for 4 different platforms, and each one will post a different week for that first month, or one a month for 4 months, or whatever.
That's great. Yeah. I love the swipe file. But really what we're also talking about, since, this is a CRM show, is you're doing a lot of email marketing at this time about your launch, and people
Yes.
expect you to be super excited about your book launch. So they expect you to be talking about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's email marketing and a lot of social media posting, and as you're saying, trying to build some affiliates in there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Lean on your networks. This is the time, right, to ask for the favors. It's sort of like there's, in regular life and personal life, there's, weddings and signature birthdays are the few times where you can sort of like ask for people to like go out of their way and come travel, or, schedule big deals or spend a lot of money, whatever it is. And so book launch is sort of the business version of that. So it's a time to really ask for those favors, to ask people to help you, to support you, to celebrate you, to maybe go through just a smidgen of effort at their end to support you. Maybe it's something slightly inconvenient for them, but this is the time to pull those favors. So
That makes sense. I love the way that you describe it as a wedding or something. That's true. So, I think the one that, everyone struggles with is making your book content evergreen. So
yes.
would you just explain what that means a little bit more?
Well, it's the idea of having some content for your book that you can just have always ready to go, that lasts. So if someone comes across some content, it's not outdated. So that's, all of your launch stuff. If you're doing emails and social media content, you're having dates, come to this event, come to this event. That's not evergreen. That will expire when the date has passed. But having just some evergreens. So a very easy thing that a lot of people do is take some quotes, take some passages out of the book and make some graphics with them, create additional content. So all the time when I'm working with clients, I'll say, there's stuff that they want in the book, but they can't just quite make it fit, or it makes a section too long. I always say, take it out and put it in your marketing file, because it's on topic, it's interesting, and it's different than what's currently in the book. So you could say, in chapter 4, we discuss strategies for, automation, and give a reference, but then say, content didn't make it into the book, or just additionally, if you've read this and or give the kind, if you want more
Yeah,
of
you
it,
want to geek out on this topic. Click here.
go get my book, like that kind of stuff. And so that will always be relevant to you and your business. It will always be accessible, that's what makes it evergreen. So I have a former client right now who I see on his Facebook page and his Instagram page. every month he writes a column. So he has a couple books and he writes a monthly column for a local newspaper. So every month they pull a couple quotes out of the newspaper. They make these really fancy graphics, and then they add in a couple quotes from one of his books that like ties in with the article. So then you get this like coordinated graphic, 6-7 images that show up on Facebook and Instagram, and it's real. It's real time, so it's showing he's still active in the field, and references back to his book. And I think that's a very good strategy. And I know he has a social media person who's doing it for him, which is often the key piece for a lot of people, for that sort of sustained marketing effort. But that kind of stuff, it's like the idea that you have this content, you've worked really hard on this book, use that content in as many ways as you can. And there's really the question about, or like some people get a little bit hesitant of like, I'm going to give away so much from the book, who's going to buy the book, and or copyright, someone's going to steal my ideas and that kind of stuff. And it doesn't happen as much as you think it would in normal business circles. Like, you're not super famous, you're not nationally known, you're just like maybe known in your industry, but you're not like famous. And it's the value that you're going to get from the marketing exceeds the small risk of potentially someone taking your quote and calling it their own or that kind of thing.
Yeah. I always think one of the things I did was create like a list of 24 quotes from my book to kind of publish them on social media every 2 weeks for that first year. And I do incorporate the quotes periodically, but it is weird to see yourself quoting yourself.
Yes.
But it's okay when my kids quote me. I don't know.
Of course. Yeah, no, it is hard. And that's one of those things like that becomes the mindset. You just have to get over it if you want to leverage your book effectively, and presumably you're willing to. The interesting thing that I run across all the time is it's not weird to promote your own business. It's a lot of people have no problem saying something on social media or in an email, like starting an email with a quote that they themselves say.
Right.
And then the whole email is your own quote, right? Like the whole content, it's coming out of your brain. And most people don't have a problem with that. As soon as you say like, this is from my book, or this is a quote from it changes and it gets weird and people get nervous. And that's just the mindset shift of like, we all have this sort of, oh, you wrote a book, that's amazing. And we don't want people to lose that, because that's why it helps, it's good to write a book. But at the same time, like, once you've written the book, you have to let go of that because it's not, that it's impressive, but it's not magic. So,
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the evergreen part is part of your goal and why you're writing the book. Like, if you're writing the book to be the cornerstone of your signature coaching program, for example, you'll want to write the book in a way that makes it easy for you to reuse that content in your program. I think with my first book, it was more helping people like with their mindset around how to use technology. And so what I've started doing is when someone signs up as a new client, they receive my book to start off, because I think it helps, it's not something they have to read front to back, but if they do jump into certain areas, it helps with just getting them to understand how to use technology in general in their business. So consider how you're going to be evergreening the content. Is it a course? Is it in a program? Is it helping people get off to a good start with your services? And that, hopefully you will also build your book content in that way to make it easy to evergreen.
Yes. And for those who don't want to necessarily launch a separate thing, they just want it for clients, that's still the same concept of evergreening, because you're writing the book about what you do. So I have like a client who basically uses his book to shorten his sales cycle. Mm-hmm. He sends the book, then they can jump ahead from some of the how does he do his work just right into are we a fit? And it has increased his close ratio because, and this is book he wrote, his first book that he wrote 5 years ago, and it's still working. It's still evergreen in that sense because it's still the industry he's in. It's still the way he conceptualizes, his process. So.
Yeah. Yes. So your book is part of your marketing strategy. Once you decide to write it, just keep it as part of your marketing strategy continually. And
Exactly, exactly.
yeah,
And it's a tool, like a website, like a landing page, and you're going to invest money and time and effort into that, and you're going to use it. No one spends money to create a website and then doesn't ever give anybody their web address, right? So it's the
I've
same.
definitely met clients like that, though.
I know. Every time I say nobody, I'm like, of course.
So we talked about in evergreen again is just it's your marketing strategy and how you're incorporating it. So it could be emails, social media, it could be an online course, it could just be itself as a book, as something that you use as an intro. So yeah,
Yeah,
keep that all. And you're going to really need a CRM for
yes,
everything that we talked about. So your book success to me is tied very much to the tools that you're leveraging to put it out there. Would you agree?
absolutely, 100%, 100%. So yeah, I mean, that's I think to me, I can't even wrap my head around how someone would manage their business, let alone marketing their book without a CRM, because I just like, what are you doing? A spreadsheet? Like, how do you know who your people are when they're signing up? You know, all this kind of stuff. So I would like to believe that most people have a CRM when they have launched their book, and then they can just adopt and adapt the functions of the CRM to support their book launch and marketing and ongoing stuff that with all the tools that a good all-in-one CRM provides.
Yeah, because we named several different tools that you're going to need to be able to grow your list, to launch your book, and then also to evergreen it. Those are all tools that you need, and if you don't have them available to you, they can become big stumbling blocks in your ability to get the success you want with your book.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just at a very basic level of being able to pull data. So you send an email out, how many people clicked, how many people looked at it, how many people clicked through to look at the book on Amazon or wherever you're selling it, how many people clicked to see the webinar that you're advertising or whatever,
Right.
event that you're having along with the book for the launch, like all that kind of stuff at the barest minimum. To have that insight is going to be hugely beneficial, especially because, as we always say, book marketing is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you want to be able to get that information and then adapt. So you're like, everybody clicks for the book and nobody clicks on the title of this webinar I'm trying to sell. Okay, I need to change the title of that webinar, whatever it is.
Yes. Well, and a lot of the things that we mentioned were batching your content creation so that it's easier. Like I mentioned batching my social media posts of quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before we got on, Meredith, we were talking about batching emails.
Yes. Yes. I highly recommend that, especially in that launch phase. And as long as you can, like batching and scheduling and automating is always going to be better than not. But, if you want to do for your launch, like if you're going to do it for a whole month and you have all these things and you're in this blog on this day and this thing, and you have write all those emails all ahead of time. As soon as each one gets nailed down, as soon as every details it, get that email, get it scheduled, because you will not remember or have the time to do it when the time comes. You don't want to be sitting there every week, be like, oh, I have to get this week's email out. Like, it's never going to happen, or it'll be late. It'll have mistakes. There'll be broken link. Like, don't do it. don't set yourself up that way. Take advantage.
Well, also, I feel like the storyline is more cohesive if you batch stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I find that for sure when I don't. My tone of my emails is very different depending on the mood I'm in.
So you want to be in a happy mood when you write your
Yeah,
launch
and then
email.
there's days where I'm like, oh, I have to write this email, I forgot, and then it's like that's not my best work.
Yeah. I hear you on that. So yes, Meredith's secret to, or CRM success secret, is to batch content for social media, for email, for whatever, and that's what CRM with automation can do for you. So consider batching. So
Yeah.
Meredith, would you mind telling us more about your upcoming business book incubator?
Oh yes, thank you. Well, So I'm a book coach. I help people write their books like I did with you. And up until now, I've always done it one-on-one, which is, a great process. But through that, I've sort of codified an approach. It's a 6-step phase to writing a book. And I realized that I could adapt it to be a group model, which, some people just prefer being part of a group, and it just lets me have it at an accessible price point, and it's just a different experience. I'm really excited about it. So it's 6 months. So each month focuses on one step, and you don't have to have anything except an idea, and even that I can help you with. But you don't have to have started writing. You don't have to have an outline, any of that kind of stuff. When you show up on day one, we'll take you all the way through till the end, till you've finished your revisions at the end of the 6 months. So it doesn't cover the production, all that stuff, but you will have your book ready to go into production at the end of the 6 months. So it's, and it's not super time consuming. It is roughly, I think, about 3 to 6 hours a week for the 6 months. And that includes, we're going to meet twice a month, one group meeting and one co-writing session. And so that would factor into that 3 to 6 hours. I've never had anyone take more than 6 hours a week to write their book. And that's at the upper end.
Well, I guess unless you decide to write it in a couple week time period.
Sure. Yes. But if we're talking about a 6 month time frame, 3 hours, 4 really is going to be pretty standard for how much time it takes. So there is an incubator starting in June, the first Tuesday in June, June 6th. You can still sign up for that. And it's just a couple months away. And you do not, like I said, you don't have to do any prep. You don't have to be prepared. You can literally just start, and I promise that I will walk you through and you'll be successful. People always think they don't have any content, and the truth is, if you are working in your business, you are creating content. If you're posting on social media, if you're meeting with clients, if you have an FAQ, if you're doing presentations, you have content. So that is not the problem.
I agree.
So starts June. Sign up at this link. And
let me say it just for those. It's programs.eatonpress.com/incubator-home-.
Yes, very succinct.
And I will put it in the comments as well so that you can get them there.
So it starts in June, runs through November, and then we take a break for the holidays, and it starts. The next one will start in February, which you can sign up for that now if you want to. Which seems most people are not ready.
Which is what I'm probably doing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are already doing. So which is fine. That's good. But it was an interesting. Showed me that people really think you need to prepare, and maybe mentally.
Yes. Well, June, this time period is so busy for my family. It starts with Mother's Day, and then my daughter's birthday, and then Father's Day, my husband's birthday, and then my son's birthday, all within 2 months.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then we're throwing in a high school graduation.
That is true. That is a good point. And for some people, the summer is the best time for them to write their book. I get a lot of people coming right now being like, let me summer. But then the other side is summer's the worst time to write their books. So the one thing I will say, and this is why I'm ending the program in November and not starting until February, because do not try to write your book over the holidays. You think you'll be able to do it. You think you'll have time. Always. Everyone goes way off the rails from Thanksgiving through the third week of January. Nothing gets done. So that's why the next group doesn't start till February.
Right. Be realistic with yourself, people.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Meredith, for sharing the strategies to make your book a success. We're going to launch. We're going to grow your list, launch, and then evergreen it. And to do those things really seamlessly, you really do need a CRM, and that will help you with your book success for sure. So Thank you very much for joining us. And for those of you listening, please comment, and I'm sure Meredith will respond as well with answers.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Meredith.
Bye.